Hi everyone. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about hope and hopelessness. And I wanted to kind of redefine hope and propose a new radical approach to feeling hope and acting on hope. So for a lot of us, hope essentially is the belief that everything will be okay. And we kind of want to get to this mind state where we can always have a positive outlook and always hope for the best in our lives. I want to talk about what is kind of wrong with this definition, or how we can define hope better. And to do that, first I wanted to talk a little bit about hopelessness itself. By the way, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So yeah. But I first wanted to talk a little bit about hopelessness because if you clicked on this video, you probably know very well what hopelessness feels like. Hopelessness is often kind of seen as the shameful emotion that we're trying to run away from. If someone else feels hopeless or we feel hopeless, we don't dare talk to someone else about it. We don't even dare to admit it to ourselves when we're feeling hopeless, because it's something that you're not supposed to feel, essentially. Something that is bad and unhelpful and unnecessary, something to fight against. And we're trying to push away this feeling, but it never properly works. If you feel hopeless, you know that it is a feeling that lies on you like a heavy blanket and it's going nowhere. And you can't just replace hopelessness with hope by telling yourself that everything is going to be okay. And I want to kind of challenge that way of dealing with hopelessness. And I want to show how it can be useful and how it can be valuable to feel hopelessness and what can be actually nice about hopelessness. If you want to dive a little bit deeper into hope, I can really recommend the book When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chödrön. This is what kind of inspired this video. She has an entire chapter on hope and death, so really look into that book if you want to get more inspiration on how to deal with hope. But essentially, one line I wanted to share from that book was, what if hopelessness were the beginning? What if hopelessness were the place to start? And if we kind of dive into that idea, what she talks about in the book is that without giving up hope that there's somewhere better to be, someone better to be, someone better to be with, we will never relax with who we actually are right now in this moment. And she also touches on the idea that getting everything together in your life and having a perfect life, feeling like you have everything together, is unrealistic, because life is all about going up just to go down again. Things come together and fall apart again, and come together and fall apart again. And this is just how the cycle of life goes, essentially. So wanting to feel like you have everything together is not a permanent state. It is unrealistic to even want to achieve it, which essentially means that the entire cycle of life is hopeless, if you want to look at it like that. There is no solid ground. There is no ground to relax on. Life is suffering, as the Buddhists would say. And the point with that is that there is nothing wrong with that. And if we rely on hope to get us through something, we have to feel the opposite as well, which is fear. If we rely on hope, we're automatically going to feel fear as well. Because if we're hopeful about something, we also have to be afraid that what we're hoping for is not going to come true. Or that the person we hope to be someday is not going to be the person we will be someday. Okay, so this sounds super bleak and dark, and the conclusion could now be, what even is there worth living for then? But let's look at what that actually means. What are the conclusions we can draw from that type of thinking with hopelessness? How can this actually be a good thing? The first thing that I could draw from thinking like this is that it means that all your feelings, be it positive or negative, are valid and worth your time. All of them. Because negative and positive emotions are just part of the natural cycle of life. Now, what that means is that who you are is valid and worth your time, no matter what the situation or how you're feeling right now. Your feelings are essentially who you are. We all know if you feel anxious, there's basically nothing you can do. If you feel happy, it brightens up your entire day. Emotions kind of rule how you live. What if all your emotions, not just the positive ones, would be worthy and valuable? It would mean that whoever you are right here in this present moment is valuable and worthy of your time. Who you are could never be wrong, and your suffering could never be wrong. How you feel could never be wrong. So if we accept this endless cycle of things coming together and falling apart again, what we are doing essentially is accepting ourselves. For the first time, truly accepting ourselves and truly loving ourselves. And to me, that is the only solid ground we will ever have in life. This acceptance and this love for ourselves is the only thing we will ever be able to rest on. Everything else might come together and fall apart again. But this is kind of what true hope is about, is accepting this endless cycle and thus accepting ourselves for who we truly are. The second conclusion that can be drawn from hopelessness being the place to start is that there's less pressure, less self-hate. Because if things are falling apart and they are not the way that you want them to be, if you are feeling hopeless, if you're not who you want to be, and you don't have everything together, then that's just another normal phase in life. A phase after which everything will go up again, and when everything is up, it will probably also crash down again. But that's okay. And sitting with that idea that who you are right now, no matter how bleak or cruel the situation seems, or no matter if you're not the person that you want to be, sitting with that idea that that is okay, all of a sudden lifts off this pressure to constantly want to be someone else, to constantly want to live in a different world. And if we lift off this pressure, if we really sit with this idea that who we are right now could be okay, even if we feel hopeless and depressed, doesn't that mean that we're inviting more self-love instead of self-hate into our being? And I think that would be a really cool way to think about this. And the third conclusion that we can draw from this inspiring paragraph on hope is that only when we are in the reality of a situation, the complete truth of it, the negative and positive sides of every situation and of who we are, can we accept what is happening. And only when we find acceptance and actually live in the reality of a situation can we get solutions and find a new path. If we are deluding ourselves by telling ourselves everything's gonna work out, someone might help me, someone's gonna come around, or it's just gonna work out, we're not putting in as much effort as we could into finding solutions. But if we are living in reality, we can see all the possible outcomes, the positive and the negative outcomes. We're aware of them. And we're also aware of what we have and who we are and how we can work out whatever is happening right now. So living in reality to find solutions is extremely important. We cannot find proper solutions if we're lying to ourselves about certain aspects of a situation, because we will not be taking into account these aspects. So real change, lasting true change, is only possible if we're living in reality, if we are living with the truth of what the situation is and who we are. So essentially, hopelessness could be your beginning. It could be valid. It could even be necessary to understand a deeper truth in life, which is this endless cycle. And it could be what starts you on your journey to betterment, to more self-love, to more acceptance, and to living in your own authentic truth. It could be your start to a completely changed life. So now let's get into redefining hope. And this redefinition is inspired by Rebecca Solnit, and I am paraphrasing her teaching on hope the way that I understood it. But what she says is that hope is not that you're gonna pretend that everything is fine. Hope is an action. To say I have hope is to say I am taking every conceivable action to get to a better place. I am trying to change myself and adapt, and I'm trying to make the situation better. So hope essentially is you trying to work toward the best case scenario, but it also means you're not deluding yourself about the situation. True hope requires living in reality. It requires seeing all the positive and the negative aspects of a situation and thinking about what all the possible outcomes could be. It's saying, okay, here's all the worst outcomes that could happen, here's all the best outcomes that could happen, and I see that, I'm aware of it, I'm not denying it, and I now choose to work towards the best outcome possible. How can I avoid the worst, and how can I achieve the best, essentially? How do I need to change myself to change the situation? But the only way we're actually going to get somewhere is if we don't delude ourselves when things go wrong, we don't lie to ourselves when things are not going the way that we planned, so that we can change our course of action when necessary. So essentially, hope is pragmatic, it's an action, and it's hard. Living in reality is hard. Not lying to ourselves to make us feel better is hard. But remember that lying to ourselves that everything is just going to work out fine is, again, like I said in the beginning, a band-aid to a gunshot wound. It doesn't work. Not deluding ourselves can be one of the hardest things we will ever do, but it can also be one of the most valuable things we will ever do. Constantly saying everything will be okay, everything will work out. How does that make you feel when someone says it to you when you're really feeling down? How does it make you feel when you're really feeling hopeless? It does not make you feel good. It sounds like hollow lies. And essentially it is a lie. Things can get better, things will be okay, but they will also fall apart again, and the only way that things will change is if you take the chance and change yourself. Properly change yourself by living in reality. If we acknowledge what's happening, go through it together, and keep working on it being better, it will be better. So what I'm saying here is rely on yourself to create hope. Don't wait for hope to fall from the skies, for hope to come to you in the form of another person that solves all your issues for you. Don't wait for the world to change. Change yourself and hope will be created. And when other people come to you and feel hopeless, what do? Essentially, I was thinking a little about this, but instead of saying, hey, listen, everything's gonna be okay, we can say, okay, what is the entire situation, the bad and the positive? Because sometimes when we feel hopeless, we can forget about the positive in a situation as well. So what is the bad and the positive? What are possible outcomes? The bad ones and the positive ones. And which outcome would be the best for you? And how can I help you take actionable steps so that we can get to that best outcome? And I think that's how you could deal with any situation where hopelessness comes up and true change is needed, be it someone else's situation or yours. So this is not a pessimistic outlook on life where everything will always go wrong. I hope it's not misunderstood as that. What I'm trying to say here is invite yourself into a space of more self-love and a radical approach of change. Invite yourself to a space where you're actually working with your emotions and paying attention to the reality that you're living in. I'm inviting true change with this view on life, essentially, with these ideas and concepts. And actually changing your situation and developing more self-love, to me, sounds a whole lot better than faking hope until you make it, or trying to wriggle your way through a situation by saying everything will get better eventually. So I hope this helps, and let me know what you thought down below. I'm really open and excited for a discussion on this topic. I hope you take the time to sit with these ideas and feel them out for you. I'm just saying what works for me and what has helped me through the most hopeless times I've ever been through last year. If something else helps you more, then do that. This is just an invitation, an idea to play with, so do with it as you will. But yeah, I hope you're all doing well, and I will upload a new video in 2 weeks' time, as always, on Sunday. And yeah, I'm excited to see you guys again. Bye.